India is doing well. Don't miss out on the India growth story. Passive product जो है इतने simple है और इतने democratic है और इतने easy है, तुम्हारे कोई भी investor के portfolio में fit हो सकते हैं. अपने पोर्टफोलियो को कोर और सैटेलाइट में स्प्लिट करो. जो कोर पोर्टफोलियो जो है उसको हाथ मत लगाओ. जो सैटेलाइट पोर्शन है पोर्टफोलियो को, उसमें तुम रिस्क ले सकते हो. Those active schemes which are outperforming, the one that is outperforming today is not the one that's outperforming tomorrow. If you keep finding the best stock, the best sector, the best fund manager, the best scheme, you will forget the market completely. You will be chasing things which are not in your hand. To get all of that right, you need a crystal ball. The only disruption that has happened is a structure which is ETFs.
Okay.
There is no other disruption that's happened.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bazaar Beyond, where we deep dive into the world of finance, investing and more to help you make smart investment decisions. और मैं हूं आपका होस्ट विवेक अनंत. हमारे आज के गेस्ट हैं विशाल जैन. Mr. Jain has been a pioneer of passive investing in India with a career spanning over 25 years in this space. He was part of the team that built India's first ETF, Nifty Bs, back in 2001 and has led the passive investing business at firms like Benchmark Mutual Fund, Goldman Sachs AMC and Nippon India. और अब वो CEO हैं Zerodha Fund House के, जो कि एक pure passive only AMC है. Thank you, Mr. Jain, for joining us. So I would like to start with your journey as one of the pioneers of passive investing in India, and also talk to us about what you're trying to achieve with Zerodha Fund House, and how do you see the future with Zerodha and the passive investing space?
Sure. Thanks so much for inviting me, Vivek. It's a pleasure being here. Passive industry now, I mean, the first index fund I think got launched in the year 2000. The first ETF got launched in December 2001. So we're approximately about 25 years now, into the first bunch of passive products, that were launched. I'll split the, journey of passive products maybe in 2 or 3 different phases. I'd say the first phase was, say, between the year 2000 to 2015, when while we were at Benchmark, and had pioneered the concept of ETFs in India. The first 15 years were slow because at that point of time the mutual fund industry also was nascent, and most of the focus was on active funds and them primarily being sold through the distribution mode. Passive products, are generally products which are bought; they're not sold, right? So they were never pushed into into people buying those products or somebody going and selling those products, because there was no incentive for any broker or distributor to go and sell those products, right? So the first 15 years was slow. From 2015 onwards, I think there has been a large uptick in not only in launch of passive products, but also in terms of AUMs growing in passive products. The first thing that happened was in 2014, while we were at Goldman, we launched the CPSE ETF, which was a government ETF, which was used for divesting government stocks through an ETF route. That is the first, product which came out in the market, which created a large buzz. Besides the other ones that we had launched, right from Nifty Bs to Junior Bs to Bank Bs to Liquid Bs till then. The second, event that happened was somewhere, I think in 2015 or so, when EPFO, which is the Provident Fund Organization in India, that started putting a part of its portfolio in a Nifty 50 ETF, right? And those are the two kind of trigger points that led to institutional money flowing into ETFs, from about 2014, 2015 onwards. Post that, there were 2 or 3 regulatory changes, changes that happened. One which happened in 2017, I think, and one which happened in 2018, which was primarily, the first one was relating to benchmarking norms. So in India, the benchmarking norms, if you saw most mutual fund schemes, they were benchmarked towards something called as a price index,
Okay.
right? And the price index is what you term technically as a TV index. So what you see today as a Sensex or a Nifty on the television is what you call as a price index, right? It doesn't contain dividends. It doesn't
Only
take dividends
capital
into
gains,
account.
basically.
Yeah, it's only capital gains of the underlying shares. Now, when you are an investor, when you are a fund house, and you are holding the underlying shares of the company, you're also receiving dividend, which is not getting reflected in the index that you are tracking, right? And that norm changed where the regulator then came and said that every fund house has to benchmark versus the total returns index, which also contains dividend, right? Now, the gap between the price index and the total returns index is what you call as dividend yield. Right. Now that dividend yield varies between 1 to 1.5% or so, and that was being shown as alpha that was being generated by fund managers. So it was never alpha, but they were basically accumulated dividends that were there in the scheme. The second change that that came about was the scheme categorization circular which came out, I think, in 2018 or so, where SEBI defined what a large cap is, what a mid cap is, what a small cap is. So companies which come from 1 to 100 are large cap, from 101 to 250 are considered mid cap, 251 to 500 are called a small cap, and anything below that are called as the micro cap companies. And when that definition came out, and most schemes had to move towards that definition, after when data started coming out after a year or so in 2019 onwards, it became very apparent that most of the schemes were underperforming their benchmarks. Prior to that, what was happening is that you would have a lot of active schemes which came into the market, would call themselves large cap, but would have a decent chunk of mid caps or small caps in them. So when the market went up, right, their outperformance got shown as alpha. It was never alpha. It was basically additional risk that they had taken by coming down the market cap chain and getting into, say, mid caps and small caps. So when that definition started narrowing from 2019 onwards, when the data started coming out, it showed that most of them were underperforming the market, and that's when I would tend to think that a lot of evolved money, institutional and HNI money started moving towards index funds and ETFs. The third trigger was COVID, when markets tanked and there were a huge flush of people which started using passive products. And the intuitive reason, which I think was that, see, when you have a shock event like a COVID in the market, at that point of time, you don't know which sector or stock is going to do well, but you definitely know, look, the markets are 25-30% down. It makes sense for me to get into the market. And that's when people start moving towards index products. I saw that happening even in 2008, 2009, when the financial crisis happened. So that was the third trigger point, which kind of led to a lot of new investors coming and trying passive products. The fourth event that happened was somewhere in, I would say, May 2022 or so, where SEBI, for the first time, actually came out with a circular only on how passive products have to be managed and run. So one of the important things that SEBI at that point said that, if you are an ETF, right, and if you have an investor, the investor can directly invest in the scheme only if it is about 25 crores. Right, which led to a lot of investors who were investing, say, less than 25 crores in an ETF to come into the market and start trading, right? And that kind of led to volumes kind of being shown on the individual ETF counters. And that has led to a sharp spurt in volumes over the last 2 to 3 years, and also a sharp spurt in terms of number of investors kind of looking at these products. So it's these 3 or 4 phases in the last 25 years, which now it's a happy thing. I'm extremely happy that we've got so many investors now coming in. In ETFs, there are approximately about 1.8 crore users who are using ETFs, and it's growing leaps and bounds every year. If you look at the first 9 months of the last financial year, that is 24-25, approximately about 45 lakh investors, new investors, started using ETFs. 45 lakhs was the total number of investors that we had in the first 2 decades.
Okay.
Right?
Yes,
And those number of investors got added just in the first 9 months of last year.
okay.
Right. Similar story even with index funds, where at this point of time there are approximately about 1.2, 1.3 crore folios in index funds,
Okay.
and approximately about 40, 50 lakh have got added just in the first 9 months of last year. So now we're seeing traction coming. As I mentioned, first it started off with institutional, then HNI. We're seeing now retail traction also coming in to ETFs and index funds.
ग्रेट अगर आप जीरोधा के साथ जो आपका भी जो जर्नी चालू है उसमें देखेंगे तो आप यहाँ पे क्या करने का सोच रहे हैं? बिकॉज आपने 25 साल से काफ़ी कोशिश की है और अभी आप ये जंक्चर में आके पहुँच गए हैं कि द लाइकिंग फॉर ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स जो फॉर पैसिव फंड्स बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंक्रीज हो रहा है. तो यहाँ से आप क्या कर पाएंगे या क्या सोच रहे हैं? इंडस्ट्री का ग्रोथ कैसे होगा?
तो विवेक, ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है कि आज अगर आप म्यूचुअल फंड पेनिट्रेशन देखोगे तो अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 5.3 या 5.4 करोड़ यूनिक पैन फोलियोज है.
Okay.
मतलब कि इन अ पॉपुलेशन जो 140 करोड़ है, मतलब हम कह रहे हैं कि पेनिट्रेशन लेवल अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 3.2% है. मतलब कि वी हैव अ लॉन्ग वे टू गो, राइट. तो रिटेल ट्रैक्शन जो है, अगर हम ये चाहते हैं कि नेक्स्ट 10, 15, 20 करोड़ न्यू इन्वेस्टर्स आए म्यूचुअल फंड्स में, तो हमारा ये बिलीफ है कि उन्हें सिंपल प्रोडक्ट्स देना पड़ेगा.
अच्छा.
राइट. सिंपल प्रोडक्ट्स, सिंपल जर्नी, सिंपल वे ऑफ एक्सप्लेनिंग. मतलब सम चीज़ जो है वो हमें काफ़ी सिंपल करना पड़ेगा, फिर ही जाके जो है हम स्केल अचीव कर पाएंगे और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग जो है ये प्रोडक्ट्स में आ पाएंगे. राइट. तो ऑब्जेक्टिव वो है, मतलब जीरोधा एएमसी सेटअप करने का, कि हम हम जो नेक्स्ट 5 करोड़ 10 करोड़ इन्वेस्टर्स को कैसे हम लाए म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री में और वो कैसे बेनिफिट करे ये फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट्स. how can they kind of use these financial products to achieve financial freedom and to achieve financial goals for themselves. So that's the main objective.
अगर आप ये जो चेंजेस आप लेके आना चाहते हैं, इसके लिए जो फ्यूचर में कोई इंडस्ट्री में स्ट्रक्चरल शिफ्ट्स क्या होने चाहिए या ऑलरेडी हो गए हैं, आपके अंदाजे में क्या होना चाहिए?
मतलब डेफिनेटली अगर आप मुझे ETF का पूछोगे तो
ETF एंड इंडेक्स फंड.
हाँ, तो मैं ETF की बात करता हूँ. ETF में जो चेंजेस करने हैं, मतलब कि एक जो इकोसिस्टम में हमारी एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम थोड़ी चैलेंज है, वो ETFs में यू रिक्वायर मार्केट मेकर्स, राइट. एंड वो मार्केट मेकिंग इकोसिस्टम जो है इंडिया में अभी तक स्टिल थोड़ा अंडर डेवलप्ड है, जो एवरी ईयर इम्प्रूव हो रहा है, बट इधर से काफ़ी इम्प्रूव करना है हमें. एंड इंडस्ट्री जो है साथ में विद द रेगुलेटर वर्क कर रही है कि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा और मार्केट मेकर्स को इंडिया में लेके आए एंड वो मार्केट मेकिंग इकोसिस्टम थोड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग करें हम लोग. तो उस चीज़ पे जो है फोकस है पूरी इंडस्ट्री की. एंड नेक्स्ट 2 to 3 years मतलब काफ़ी ये मार्केट मेकर्स जो है आएंगे मार्केट में और लिक्विडिटी और बेटर होगी ETF counters पे. So that will lead to a huge change in terms of the more number of investors trying ETFs in the market. So that is one change in the ecosystem that I think is needed and we are working on, and is something which will keep getting better as we move ahead. Even if you look at volumes now, over the last 1 year, approximately करीबन 4 लाख करोड़ ETFs में ट्रेड हो रहे हैं, जो लास्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर में सिर्फ 2 लाख करोड़ थे. तो एवरी ईयर जो है वॉल्यूम्स इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं, लेकिन वी नीड टू टेक इट मच हायर फॉर मोर एंड मोर पीपल टू स्टार्ट कमिंग एंड यूजिंग दीज प्रोडक्ट्स.
जो हमारे व्यूअर्स मार्केट मेकर क्या है नहीं जानते, उनके लिए अगर आप एक प्राइमर दे सकते हैं, व्हाट डज अ मार्केट मेकर डू?
सो मार्केट मेकर का ये काम है कि वो लिक्विडिटी जो है प्रोवाइड करता है, तो 2-way कोर्ट्स प्रोवाइड करता है काउंटर पे. सो एक सिंपल एग्जाम्पल ये है कि सपोज NAV, रियल टाइम NAV एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम कोई भी स्कीम का सपोज 100 रुपया है, राइट. तो मार्केट मेकर एक बिड देता है और एक ऑफर देता है, राइट. सो इन्वेस्टर्स जिसको खरीदना है या बेचना है, वो मार्केट में जाके दे कैन बाय एंड सेल इन गुड वॉल्यूम्स बिकॉज द मार्केट मेकर इज देयर. नाउ मार्केट मेकर यूजली जो है आई मीन क्या देखता है जब भी वो बिड और ऑफर कोट करता है, वो यूजली अपना कॉस्ट ऑफ बाइंग अंडरलाइंग सिक्योरिटीज देखता है, तो अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 10-12 बिप्स जो है एसटीटी है, 10 बिप्स एसटीटी है, प्लस 4-5 बिप्स मतलब कि वो ब्रोकरेज और अदर चार्जेस पे करेगा, प्लस उसका जो भी फंडिंग कॉस्ट वगैरह होगी. सो टिपिकली जो है मतलब 0.2% जो है उसका कॉस्ट रहता है मार्केट मेकर का. तो वो, एंड ये मैं बात कर रहा हूँ डाइवर्सिफाइड स्कीम्स के लिए, जो थोड़े थीमेटिक और थोड़े और कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड स्कीम्स है, उनके स्प्रेड्स थोड़े ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं. तो टिपिकली मार्केट मेकर जो है 99.8 पे खरीदेगा एंड अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 100.20 पे बेचता है वो. एंड अगर उसको मतलब इफ़ यू कीप सेलिंग एट से 99.80 टू द मार्केट मेकर, फिर वो डायरेक्टली स्कीम के साथ आके रिडीम करता है. सो दैट इज हाउ मार्केट मेकर इंश्योर करता है कि जो कोट्स है वो क्लोज टू फेयर वैल्यू है.
अच्छा.
राइट, बिकॉज उसको अगर ज्यादा रिडेम्पशन आया वो डायरेक्टली रिडीम करेगा फंड हाउस के साथ. अगर उसको सब्सक्रिप्शन आ रहा है मतलब 120 पे अगर उसके यूनिट्स जा रहे हैं, सो वो डायरेक्टली आके फिर फंड हाउस से फिर यूनिट्स क्रिएट करके वो मार्केट में देगा. तो ही विल ऑलवेज बी क्लोज टू फेयर वैल्यू विच इज 100 रुपीज नेट ऑफ कॉस्ट जो भी है उसका.
क्या इसी की वजह से वो ट्रैकिंग एरर भी होता है? क्योंकि वो जब जो ट्रेड करते हैं उसमें जो डिफरेंस रहता है, वो ट्रैकिंग एरर का भी थोड़ा लॉजिक समझा दीजिए हमारे.
ट्रैकिंग एरर जो है वो मार्केट मेकर के मतलब इट इज नॉट डिपेंडेंट ऑन द मार्केट मेकर. ट्रैकिंग एरर जो है बेसिकली स्कीम कितने क्लोजली इंडेक्स को ट्रैक कर रहा है, दैट इज व्हाट ट्रैकिंग एरर डिफाइंस. राइट, तो ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या होता है कोई भी पैसिव स्कीम का, वेदर इंडेक्स फंड हो कि ईटीएफ हो, राइट, you should be tracking the index as close to the index as possible. So let's take a simple example कि आज जो है index 1.5% ऊपर गया, तो net your scheme should also go up by that 1.5% minus जो तुम्हारा expense ratio है and जो minor जो tracking error होगा. And how will you ensure कि you are tracking the index well? जब भी fund manager जो है, जो underlying securities है, वो exactly mimic कर रहा है index को, and उसका जो cash levels है वो low cash levels है. राइट, तो जितना उसने पैसा डिप्लॉय किया है मार्केट में उतना वो क्लोजली ट्रैक करेगा इंडेक्स को. राइट, अभी सपोज कोई फंड मैनेजर है जो ट्रैक नहीं कर रहा है वो इंडेक्स को प्रॉपर्ली, तो अगर इंडेक्स इज गॉन अप से 1.5%, ही माइट गो अप ओनली 1%. नो, दैट इज एन एरर बिकॉज ही इज नॉट ट्रैकिंग द इंडेक्स. सो जितना क्लोजली कोई फंड मैनेजर वो इंडेक्स को ट्रैक करेगा उतना ट्रैकिंग एरर कम होगा. तो अगर कोई इन्वेस्टर कभी भी कोई भी पैसिव स्कीम खरीद रहा हो, तो ही शुड ऑलवेज इंश्योर कि वो ट्रैकिंग एरर फिगर जो है वो हर एएमसी के वेबसाइट और फैक्टशीट में होती है, वो रेगुलेटरी है, तो वो हमेशा वो ट्रैकिंग एरर देख के वो इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं.
ग्रेट. मुझे जस्ट वांट टू शिफ्ट ट्रैक थोड़ा सा. अभी आप इतने साल से आपने पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग देखा है, आपने इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स को पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग करते देखा है, रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स को भी देखा इन द लास्ट 10 years. इनके जो मिथ्स जो हैं, जो बस्ट हुए हैं जो इन्वेस्टर्स के दिमाग में, या उनके बिहेवियरल एस्पेक्ट्स में आपको कुछ सरप्राइजेस देखने को मिले इतने सालों में कि आपने कुछ सोचा था कि ऐसे ही होना चाहिए मगर आपने कुछ नया देखा हो इन्वेस्टर्स के बिहेवियर में?
सो एक मतलब जो मैंने आपको 2 इवेंट की मैंने बात की थी, वन इज 2008 का फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस, वन इज 2020 में जो कोविड में जो मार्केट्स गिरे थे. इंट्यूटिवली हम हमेशा सोचते हैं कि जब भी मार्केट गिरता है तो बहुत सारे लोग बेचना शुरू करते हैं. मैंने उल्टा देखा है हमेशा. आई सी कि जब भी एक मार्केट में जब भी कोई शॉक आता है तो आई फाइंड मोर इन्वेस्टर्स कमिंग एंड बाइंग पैसिव प्रोडक्ट्स. सो दिस इज अ डिफरेंस दैट आई हैव सीन. यू नो, जो इंसाइट मेरे पास था नहीं, 2008 में मुझे ये इंसाइट गेन हुई थी एंड इट गॉट कंफर्म्ड इन 2020 कि यू नो व्हेन मार्केट्स गो डाउन यू फाइंड मोर एंड मोर पीपल कमिंग एंड बाइंग पैसिव प्रोडक्ट्स.
इन द लास्ट 6-7 months जो डाउनटर्न था सितंबर में ऑल टाइम हाई के बाद, डू यू थिंक दैट you saw that trend coming again?
I've seen that trend even now. So there are more and more people now investing because they're very easy products to understand. Right? Look at passive products globally.
Okay.
Which is the most liquid traded stock in the world today? Do you know?
I don't know.
So it is Spider.
Okay.
Right? Spider is the ETF which is traded on NYSE.
Okay.
Spider is the name because uska ticker is SPDR.
Okay.
Right? S&P 500 depository receipt.
Okay.
Now that particular ETF trades 3 or 4 times, no, at least 2 times more than the next liquid stock, which is Tesla.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's the most liquid traded stock in the world. The largest mutual fund scheme in the world is the Vanguard 500 scheme.
Okay, but the Spider is the most liquid.
Spider is the most liquid. That's also a very large scheme.
Okay.
In India, do you know which is the largest scheme today?
I think it's the Parag Parikh one, right? If I'm not wrong.
No, it's the SBI Nifty 50
Okay.
ETF.
Acha, the EPFO money keeps coming in.
It's the largest.
Yeah.
It's the largest scheme
Correct.
in India, which is the most traded derivative instrument. It is the Nifty 50.
Nifty 50, yes.
Right. So passive products generally attract a lot of investors because they're easy to understand, and people can easily take exposure to in any of these products. Yeah.
ये जो एक्सपोजर लेते हैं आप जो बोले, इज इट प्राइमरीली लिमिटेड टू लार्ज कैप ETFs? मतलब आप जो मिड कैप वाले भी ETFs आए हैं पिछले 4-5 साल में, काफ़ी सारे फंड हाउसेस ने किए हैं, आपके प्रीवियस फंड एम्प्लॉयर निपॉन ने भी चालू किए हैं, मोतीलाल ओसवाल के भी हैं. आई जस्ट वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये डेप्थ कहाँ पे ज़्यादा है. आप लार्ज कैप में ही देखते हैं कि स्मॉल कैप एंड मिड कैप, लार्ज एंड मिड कैप जो ETFs बनते हैं उसमें भी?
सो अभी मिड कैप एंड स्मॉल कैप में भी ट्रैक्शन आ रहा है. जो आप मिथ की मुझे बात कर रहे थे, जो मतलब लोग मुझे हमेशा यही सवाल पूछते हैं कि लार्ज कैप स्पेस में अल्फा जनरेशन जो है बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो गया है, बट लेकिन मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप स्पेस में अभी भी अल्फा जनरेशन, स्पेशली इन द स्मॉल कैप स्पेस, अल्फा जनरेशन कर सकते हैं. एंड लोग हमेशा पूछते हैं कि पॉइंट क्या है कि पैसिव प्रोडक्ट्स तुम स्मॉल कैप स्पेस में करो या फॉर दैट मैटर मिड कैप स्पेस में भी करो. अगेन आई थिंक सी दैट्स अ मिथ. 2 or 3 things I'd like to say. One is अगर आप ये इंडिपेंडेंट स्पीवा रिपोर्ट देखोगे, विच पीपल कैन डाउनलोड by just searching SPIVA report, the latest SPIVA report for India. So SPIVA report जो है is basically S&P's index versus active report and has been coming for 15-20 years. And if you look at that report, large cap space में it shows that most large cap schemes are underperforming to the extent of 90%. 90% of large cap schemes are underperforming. Mid cap space में is approximately about 75% of the schemes are underperforming. Mid cap and small cap, they have clubbed it together. Now, one thing is the outperformance and underperformance, but I would tend to think, see, there are 2 or 3 things to understand in this. We should not always look at a portfolio in terms of should I pick up something that's going to outperform or underperform. The beauty about passive products is that you can use passive products in any way that you want. It's a very democratic product.
Okay.
So today, if I am an investor who is conservative, what is the easiest way for me to build a portfolio, right? I can pick up, 2 ETFs, right? I can pick up a Nifty 50 ETF and a Nifty Next 50 ETF and a Mid Cap 150 ETF and say that, look, I'll have maybe 60% in Nifty 50 and a Nifty Next 50 or a top 100 ETF and the next 40% in a Mid Cap 100 ETF. So I've tilted my portfolio a little on the conservative side because I've got more large caps. Now, if there is an investor who says that, look, I have got a 5-year, 7-year view and I'm happy to take the risk, right? He can then also look at a small cap ETF and say that, look, I want to have 50% of my portfolio in small cap, 25% in a mid cap ETF and 25% in a large cap ETF, right? Automatically you've tilted your portfolio towards more risk, right? Now the beauty about passive product is because you get these products, right, you're able to build portfolios the way you want to build portfolios. Now, I've got, suppose, these 3 ETFs in my portfolio, and I also want to add a bit of gold, right? I can pick up a gold ETF. Why a gold ETF? Because gold has a very low correlation with equity. तो आपने देखा होगा कि जब भी कोई स्ट्रेस होता है मार्केट में, गोल्ड शूट अप होता है, राइट? तो व्हेन यू हैव अ प्रोडक्ट लाइक गोल्ड, automatically you are kind of reducing risk of your portfolio. So वो जो hit आता है कभी भी तुम्हारे equity portfolio में, वो balance हो जाता है उससे, depending on how much of exposure you have. और फिर अगर आपको gold के सिवाय अगर आपको और थोड़ा रिस्क कम करना है और आपको डेट प्रोडक्ट्स यूज करना है, तो इतने सारे डेट ETFs है. यू गेट अ 5-year gilt ETF, you get 10-year gilt ETFs, you get some of them are target maturity ETFs. तो तुम्हें 2028 का ऐसा ETF मिलेगा जो मैच्योर हो रहा है 28 में आपका, अगर 3 year का व्यू है. तो आप जो है एक सिंपल पोर्टफोलियो को बेस्ड ऑन योर फाइनेंशियल नीड, बेस्ड ऑन योर रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी, तुम इतने इजीली एक पोर्टफोलियो को कंस्ट्रक्ट कर सकते हो, राइट? और उसके बावजूद मतलब अगर आप ये सोचते हो कि नहीं मुझे और थोड़ा, मुझे लगता है कि ऐसा कोई एसेट क्लास या कोई ऐसा कुछ फंड, कोई फंड मैनेजर, कोई एक्टिव स्कीम हो कि जो आउट परफॉर्म करे, राइट, तो आप वो भी फिर ऐड कर सकते हो. द वे टू डू इट इज कि तुम अपने पोर्टफोलियो को कोर और सैटेलाइट में स्प्लिट करो. जो कोर पोर्टफोलियो जो है उसको हाथ मत लगाओ, राइट. जो सैटेलाइट पोर्शन है पोर्टफोलियो को, उसमें तुम रिस्क ले सकते हो. अभी तुम्हें कितना कोर और कितना सैटेलाइट करना है वो आपके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है, जितनी आपकी रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी हो. मतलब यू कैन स्टार्ट ऑफ विद अ कोर ऑफ 75-80% एंड अ सैटेलाइट ऑफ 20%, or you can have a little more in the satellite portion where you have more active schemes or more alternative products that you want to have. So what I'm saying, मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि passive product जो है इतने simple है और इतने democratic है और इतने easy है, तुम्हारे कोई भी इन्वेस्टर के पोर्टफोलियो में फिट हो सकते हैं. तो अगर आज आपके पास एक एग्जिस्टिंग पोर्टफोलियो, सपोज आप इन्वेस्टर हो और आपके पास आप डायरेक्ट स्टॉक्स कर रहे हो, राइट, एंड आपके पास 10-15 स्टॉक्स है करंटली आपके पोर्टफोलियो में. आपको अगर रिस्क कम करना है तो आप क्या खरीद सकते हो? आप एक गोल्ड ETF खरीद सकते हो, या आप वो रिस्क कम करके आप एक निफ्टी 50 ETF खरीद सकते हो. ऑटोमेटिकली रिस्क कम हो गया. सो एग्जिस्टिंग इन्वेस्टर का रिस्क कम हो सकता है थ्रू एन ETF और इन
डाइवर्सिफिकेशन की वजह से,
बिकॉज ऑफ डाइवर्सिफिकेशन, राइट. अगर आप नए इन्वेस्टर हो देन यू कैन बिल्ड योर पोर्टफोलियो द वे यू वांट, राइट. तो इट हैज गॉट नथिंग टू डू विद एक्टिव और पैसिव. इट इज जस्ट द फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी दैट अ पैसिव प्रोडक्ट gives you to build your portfolio. That's the first very important thing. The second very important thing is that लोग अल्फा जनरेशन की बात करते हैं. अभी आप अल्फा जनरेशन को अगर देखो, राइट, अभी मेरे पास सपोज लोग मुझे आके कहते हैं, हाँ विशाल, मतलब देर आर, मतलब स्मॉल कैप स्पेस में अल्फा जनरेशन है, राइट, एंड यू नो एक्टिव स्कीम्स आर आउट परफॉर्मिंग. बट दोज एक्टिव स्कीम्स विच आर आउट परफॉर्मिंग, द वन दैट इज आउट परफॉर्मिंग टुडे इज नॉट द one that's outperforming tomorrow. Right. So if somebody showed me data and said that, look, Vishal, there are these 10 schemes which are outperforming and there are another 30 schemes which are underperforming, right? It is only academic, because if you are not owning those 10 schemes which were outperforming, then it is just an academic conversation.
I'll actually refer to something which is very apropos जो आप बोल रहे हो. The fund manager who was on the best small cap active fund managers. In an interview he said that जो मैंने पिछले 10 साल से किया था वो वापस नहीं होने वाला है. तो मतलब जो बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड मैनेजर हैं वो भी बोल रहे हैं कि ये जो मैंने किया है नहीं होने वाला. सो इट्स वेरी, मतलब जो आप बोल रहे हो उसका एग्जैक्ट किसी और ने भी बोल चुके हैं जो परफॉर्म किए हैं. तो
इट इज नॉट अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ यू नो यू सिटिंग देयर एंड सेइंग कि एक सेगमेंट में अल्फा है. हर सेगमेंट में कभी ना कभी अल्फा होगा, राइट. यू हैव टू डिसाइड तुम्हें क्या करना है. डू यू वांट टू टेक अ रिस्क on the fund manager? You don't know if he's going to outperform going ahead, right? Then you have to decide how much risk you want to take on that particular scheme or fund. So these two things I think are very important. One is that you have to understand that passive products help you build a portfolio that you want, right? And that alpha generation will always be there. If you keep finding the best stock, the best sector, the best fund manager, the best scheme, you will forget the market completely. You will be chasing things which are not in your hand. To get all of that right, you need a crystal ball. None of us has a crystal ball, right? So the best way to hedge yourself is to build your portfolio in a disciplined manner, have decent amount of passive products, ensure that you have a good asset allocation. और जो भी तुमको रिस्क लेना है वो एक छोटा पोर्शन जो सैटेलाइट पोर्शन कहते हैं, वो सैटेलाइट पोर्शन में जितना खेलना है, you can play in that.
आपका एक वन ऑफ द बिजनेस डिसीजंस जो आपने लिया है कि टू ओनली सेल डायरेक्ट स्कीम्स, नो रेगुलर स्कीम्स एट ऑल, बिकॉज यू बिलीव दैट इट विल सेव कॉस्ट एडिशनली. मैं समझना चाहता हूँ कि अगर आप ये डिसीजन लिए हैं तो आपका कंक्लूजन ये भी रहेगा कि देयर इज नो नीड फॉर अ एडवाइजर फॉर एन इन्वेस्टर व्हेन दे आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन पैसिव स्कीम्स. डज दैट अप्लाई टू एवरीथिंग और ओनली जस्ट टू पैसिव?
No, I mean, if you look at, see our objective, as I said, we started off with the objective that how do we get more and more people to come into the capital market through mutual funds, right? That's the main objective. How do you get the next 10, 15, 20 crore people to come in? And so that is the problem case that we started with.
Okay.
It is not a question of, it being active, passive, distributor, non-distributor. The basic objective was to make it simple for an investor to come in. Now, if you want to make it simple for an investor to come in, you have to have products which are simple.
Okay.
Today, when you go and tell somebody, look, this is a top 250 fund, people understand that, look, these are the top 250 companies of India, and if I want to take exposure to the India growth story, then this is the kind of product that I should take exposure to. So these products will help more and more people who are not currently, in the financial system, will help them to start investing small amounts, in mutual fund products. So the objective basically is to come up with products, which are simple to understand, both, say, in an index fund structure and in an ETF structure. So what we're trying to do initially is that we are having basic building blocks,
okay,
where people can start investing in large cap, mid cap, maybe small cap, have 2 or 3 commodity products which are gold and silver, and now we'll be soon doing a couple of debt products which will give basic exposure to people. So if you're an investor who wants to start building a portfolio through these products, you can start building simple portfolios for yourself. Now there are a lot of people in the market who don't want to build a portfolio but want ready-made solution.
Okay.
Right. So we are slowly now, as we move ahead during this financial year, we'll be launching a couple of, products which are ready-made solutions, okay, like a multi-asset fund, okay, or things like that, where, you can take simple exposure to all the asset classes at one shot. Okay. Now, how this helps is there are a lot of people in the market who kind of want to build their own portfolio, but a lot of people in the market who just want a ready-made solution. To me, it's a lot like, you walk into a restaurant, you have a la carte menu, and you have a thali, right? Some days you prefer a thali, some days you prefer a la carte menu, or there are people who just prefer either, right? Okay. And therefore, we're catering to both those audiences in terms of, catering to them in terms of helping them start off their investment journeys through these simple exposures. So that's the main objective. Again, passive products don't very naturally fit into a distribution network.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Right, because generally you would find a distributor selling, products which have a much higher commission. So it's not a very natural product for a distributor, as in when we have products which we think will make sense for us to sell through that distribution system, we will look at it at that point of time. But if you look at what we have set out to be, as I said, we set out to be passive, we set out to be focusing only on individual investors, and we've said that we'll be only digital. So that digital also fits very well, the direct bid also fits very well in a digital ecosystem, yeah.
ओके आपने पहले भी कोई आपके मीडिया इंटरेक्शन में मैंने पढ़ा है कि आप बोल रहे थे कि सोल्यूशन ओरिएंटेड प्रोडक्ट्स भी आप लॉन्च करेंगे. इज दैट व्हाट यू आर रेफरिंग टू?
सो मैं जो ये फंड ऑफ फंड्स की बात कर रहा था, ये सोल्यूशन ओरिएंटेड प्रोडक्ट्स ही है. And there'll be ready-made baskets that people can invest in. Okay. So it could be like a commodity combination. It could be a combination of equity, debt and gold. So अभी regulations बाहर आ गए हैं जो तुम फंड ऑफ फंड्स में काफी कैटेगरीज है जिससे तुम ये प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च कर सकते हैं. तो वो जो सॉल्यूशन ओरिएंटेड प्रोडक्ट्स है वो हम लॉन्च करेंगे. होपफुली समवेयर डाउन द लाइन एक बहुत पॉपुलर प्रोडक्ट कैटेगरी है इंटरनेशनली कॉल्ड टारगेट रिटायरमेंट फंड. अगर तो हम मतलब वी आर इन कॉन्वर्सेशन, इंडस्ट्रीज इन कॉन्वर्सेशन विद द रेगुलेटर कि ये प्रोडक्ट्स भी हम अलाउ करें. तो ये प्रोडक्ट्स जो है बहुत पॉपुलर है. मतलब इंटरनेशनली अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये रिटायरमेंट फंड्स करीबन $3 ट्रिलियन है यूएस में. तो ये रिटायरमेंट सॉल्यूशंस जो है आर सॉल्यूशंस वेयर वो अंडरलाइंग स्कीम जो होता है स्प्लिट होता है, मतलब इक्विटी, डेट, कमोडिटी में, एंड एक डिफाइंड मैच्योरिटी भी होती है. सो सपोज यू हैव अ टारगेट रिटायरमेंट फंड 2040 का, राइट? तो उसमें डिपेंडिंग ऑन कितनी दूरी है मैच्योरिटी की उतनी ज़्यादा रिस्क होती है, राइट? और जितना नज़दीक होता है मैच्योरिटी उतना कम रिस्क होता है, ज़्यादा पैसे डेट में होंगे, राइट? तो ये प्रोडक्ट जो है हेल्प पीपल प्लान, मतलब इट्स अ गोल बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग. मतलब अगर आपको इन्वेस्ट करना है 2035 के लिए, सो आप ऐसे प्रोडक्ट में डालोगे जो 2035 में मैच्योर होगा, एंड यू आर गेटिंग ऑल द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ इक्विटी, डेट, गोल्ड विच इज देयर.
So also taxation wise also it is very efficient.
No, taxation wise it'll be whatever fund of fund ka taxation hai, but it's an automatic allocation. Right. So as if today, let's take a simple example that the portfolio is 50% equity, and suppose let's take a simple example कि 2040 में mature हो रहा है product, and आज जो है वो जो allocation है वो product का 50% equity है, 25% debt है, 25% gold है. So जैसे ही वो 2035 पे आएगा, धीरे धीरे जो है वो equity portion will become 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, and as it comes closer to maturity, the equity will become zero. So as you're coming closer to maturity, the risk of that particular product is coming down because you're moving most of the money to debt. So till 2040, you are getting all the benefits of taking the equity exposure, the debt exposure, or any other rally that has happened in commodity also.
Okay. Zerodha Fund House is a JV between Smallcase and Zerodha. What is the value add that, we understand Zerodha's network which gives you a reach, but what is the value add that Smallcase is bringing to the table? Because this is something that I have wondered for a long time. So, वो उनका क्या contribution रहा है in terms of scaling up this business so fast?
So both are very similar, right, Vivek? Because if you look at what both have done, they've created, products, platforms, which have, which are for individual investors, which have hit scale, right? So both of them, whether it's Zerodha, who's, made such a popular, broking platform, Smallcase, which is, created an investment platform, digital technology, digital infrastructure for people who can come and buy, certain baskets of stocks. Now, both these, partners have tremendous experience in building these retail platforms, in having this digital technology and infrastructure which they've created. And the biggest thing is their understanding of user behavior, right? Both of them have their own strengths in terms of what kind of, systems, processes, products, will work, which will get more and more investors to start investing and using these products digitally. So both of them, in that sense, have a lot of experience in building these platforms and technologies. Yeah.
Is there wealth of know-how allowing you to have a lean team? जो आप आई रिमेंबर एक इंटरव्यू में आपने बोला था कि आपका टीम काफ़ी लीन है, इवन तो आप 2-3 साल हो गए हैं आपको, उसके वजह से आपको इनेबल कर रहा है बिकॉज वेल्थ ऑफ नॉलेज इतना है कि वो डायरेक्टली अप्लाई कर पा रहे हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ हायरिंग 10 मोर पीपल टू डू दैट.
नो, डेफिनेटली. तो पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो है वो एक टेक्नोलॉजी बैकबोन पे है, राइट? एंड वो टेक्नोलॉजी बैकबोन राइट फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टमेंट टू कस्टमर सर्विस, वो टेक्नोलॉजी बैकबोन इंटरनल है. Right. So we are building that technology backbone in the organization. And why are we doing that? Because passive products are cost-effective products, right? I cannot be building a high-cost infrastructure and selling a low-cost product.
Correct.
Right. And therefore, as an organization, when we started off and we had that benefit that we were starting from scratch, we were able to define what we want to do and work backwards and build the organization accordingly. So because we have a technology backbone, what will happen is that after some point of time, whether you are 10,000 crores or 50,000 crores, you won't need to add too many people in terms of staff strength, and that is what will lead to economies of scale. And those economies of scale will lead to more cost effectiveness and lower costs for the end investor.
एक और चीज़ जानना चाहता हूँ आपसे कि because इतने सारे passive products आ गए market में, lot of fund houses they are building passive products because demand है, like you said, there is a demand from investors for simpler products. तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में ज़ीरोधा और एनी अदर फंड हाउस दैट टेक्स द स्ट्रैटेजी कि मेरे को पैसिव फंड्स बेचने हैं, डिफरेंशिएट कैसे कर पाते हैं अपने आप को? सिर्फ वो ट्रैकिंग एरर से डिफरेंशिएट होता है कि या कोई और तरीका भी हो सकता है उसमें?
विवेक, हर चीज़ जो है मतलब कि यू कांट डिफाइन इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट डिफरेंशिएशन. अगर आप पूरी दुनिया में देखोगे तो मतलब वो डिस्ट्रप्शन या डिफरेंशिएशन क्या है in the last 30 years in the mutual fund industry or the asset management industry internationally? What comes to my mind, the only disruption that has happened is a structure which is ETFs.
Correct.
There is no other disruption that's happened. And that disruption, that structure, that innovation in that structure has led to so many more products and so many more exposures that people can take. So that's the disruption that has happened internationally. Even from our perspective, right, we are using that structure to be able to build products which are simple for the investor to use. So आज जो है हम ये करना चाह रहे हैं कि इन्वेस्टर का जो एक्सपीरियंस है वो कैसे और बेहतरीन करें, राइट? अगर आप आज इन्वेस्टर को देखो या आज आप कोई भी यूजर को देखो, अगर लास्ट 10 years में इतना रेवोल्यूशन हुआ है, मतलब राइट फ्रॉम the way you're buying, I mean, very few people possibly remember that Amazon is actually only 10 years old in the country, or whatever, 2013 or something they came about. But today it has become like a very easy thing for you to do. I mean, it's become a norm, right? Today, that phone that you have has become so powerful that you're booking a hotel, you're booking a cab, you're booking whatever on that one small piece of electronic equipment that is there. And that is what the user behavior is today, right? So imagine what will happen, say, in the next 10 years, right? We're trying to build a journey, we're trying to build products, we're trying to build an experience which is in line with what people want today.
Okay.
Right? And what people will want, say, in the next 10 years. And that is what the technology will help us. We'll be able to leverage the technology because that technology will be internal to us. I'll give you simple examples. One of the things that we are working very closely on, we're working on a WhatsApp journey.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have steered away from actually having a transactional website and also creating an app. Not that we won't do it, but we feel that there is a shift in terms of investor preference.
Okay.
Today, people don't want to kind of go into individual mutual fund websites and start investing there, because then you have to track your investments in 5 different places. You would rather have your investment in one place and track it over there. Right. So we are trying to see that how can we come closer to people, right, in terms of what are the platforms and products that they're using that we can make it easier for them to invest. And that's how we thought about WhatsApp.
Okay.
We thought about WhatsApp because everybody is on WhatsApp today. Today you're doing business on WhatsApp, right? And therefore, if you're able to build a journey which is just 2 or 3 clicks for you to invest, then, it's a platform which is the future. I would tend to think. So those are the kind of innovations and technologies that we're trying to work on as we move ahead. And you'll see a lot of this coming out in the next, couple of months and possibly in the next 2 to 3 years. And that's where the innovation is happening in the organization in terms of how we can leverage technology to reach out to more and more people and to come closer to them. That's the main work that we're trying to do as an organization.
If you could tell me, जो Zerodha के customers हैं, the Zerodha broking versus non-Zerodha customers, उनका split कितना है आपका AUM में as of now? And how do you think it will fare going forward?
See, Vivek, you have to understand that, look, asset management is all about trust. And the longer you are there doing the right thing, more and more people will start using your product. At this point of time, a large part, maybe about 50-60% of our investors are coming from Zerodha platforms. But at the end of the day, see, we're getting repeat customers, and the number of customers that are expanding is manifold, and we're getting it from across other channels as well. But as time will progress, and as we will be there, in more and more digital distribution channels, and including our own assets like the WhatsApp that we're trying to do, and maybe other assets that we have, that split will slowly keep reducing in terms of having only 50-60% coming from Zerodha. We'll have more people coming from different places based on how we're able to create those technologies to help us distribute to more and more people separately. Yeah.
Last couple of questions. One is a little, I'll admit, a little cheeky. Nippon used to be earlier Reliance mutual fund, then it became Nippon once it listed. Now Reliance ka Jio, BlackRock, MF is going to enter this fray. How does it feel to be on the other side of the spectrum? Even though I know that it was a part of the Anil Ambani group, how does it feel to be on the other side as seeing a Reliance Group company as a competitor now?
No, Vivek, I think, look, we as a country now, I think we have a long way to go. Even if you look at any number, any statistic, we are nowhere there in terms of number of people using financial products or financial inclusion or any statistic that you see. We're still quite nascent as a country, and we need to do a lot more. All throughout my life, I mean, I've worked a lot, towards getting more and more institutions and, HNIs coming and using our passive products. But I felt that there is a need that in a country like ours, if you have to get, say, the next 10, 15, 20 crore people coming in, you need, it has to, in my gut feeling, it will come through passive because it's the simplest thing for you to understand, especially keeping in mind that financial literacy is still very low, right? And therefore, when I look at more and more people coming in, I'm also happy about the fact that it will help penetration that much more faster as a country, and therefore it's a win-win for everybody. I think there is tremendous amount of space. Even if you look at, simple numbers in terms of AUM to GDP, right? Internationally, right? If my data is right, US is approximately at 120%.
Okay.
Right? International averages are approximately 65% or so. Right? So if your GDP is 100, approximate AUM in mutual funds is approximately 65 rupees. In India, it's 17 rupees.
Okay.
Right? So we're still maybe 3 times or 4 times away to just hit world average.
Okay.
Right? And therefore, there is space for a lot more people to come in. And I hope that, these new entrants who are coming in, they help expansion of investors and don't only focus on a, particular segment of investors, because then that will lead to, better financial inclusion for everybody. Yeah.
Fair enough. Last question, अगर आपका कोई recommendation रहेगा जो आपने कोई book पढ़ा हो या कोई show देखा हो या कोई podcast सुना हो, which will enrich the lives of our viewers.
I mean, you see a lot of stuff online and read. I think this one book, this Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, I think that's a good book that people can start off with. Otherwise, my suggestion is always that, in India is doing well. Don't miss out on the India growth story, right? Keep investing in regular intervals and have a good asset allocation mix based on your financial goals and your risk-taking ability, and stay the course.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Vishal, for doing this. Thank you for taking out the time.
Happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
तो ये था बाजार एंड बियॉन्ड का आज का एपिसोड, जिसमें हमने विशाल जैन से पैसिव इन्वेस्टिंग के फ्यूचर, ETF मार्केट के चैलेंजेस और इन्वेस्टर्स के बिहेवियर के नए ट्रेंड्स के बारे में बात की। अगर आपको ये एपिसोड पसंद आया तो लाइक और शेयर जरूर करें, और ऐसे ही और इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्वर्सेशंस के लिए mStock के YouTube चैनल को जरूर सब्सक्राइब करें। तो मिलते हैं अगले एपिसोड में, तब तक के लिए स्टे सेफ एंड इन्वेस्ट वाइजली।
Investments in securities markets are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.